Welcome to the inaugural episode of Great Mondays Radio. I am not your host. My name is Josh, but I am not the Josh. The Josh is Josh Levine. Josh, thank you so much. Congratulations on the launch of your podcast here. Great Mondays Radio. It's more than a podcast because it's everywhere. And that's important because a lot of people are really tuned into what this show is all about. And what is this show about?
Yeah, so it's the tag is candid conversations with culture leaders. And my goal is to be able to ultimately elevate the kind of amazing leaders that focus on culture and see the benefit of culture so that more leaders and executives of businesses around the world will actually understand how important culture is and how it can drive not just employee lives, improving the lives of employees, but also bottom lines. And that's really, really important. And there is a lot of conversation about culture out there, but there's a lot of misunderstanding. And so it's my mission really in life to push this idea of culture even further. And this is just a great way to do that.
As well as the host of Great Mondays Radio, you're also the author of the book, Great Mondays, and You're the founder of your company called Great Mondays.
Yes.
What does Great Mondays mean?
Someone called it the Great Mondays Cinematic Universe. It's Great Mondays is the concept that when you know why you come to work, when you have a reason and you connect with that reason, every day of the week can be great. And even the notorious Monday. So if you're doing something that resonates with you and you really understand what we call the purpose, your why are you doing this? Because you got to, and you have to answer it for yourself if you're an employee, but you also have to answer it or a leader, but you also have to answer it before your employees ask that question, because business isn't easy. That's not what I'm saying. And it's not the job of the business to make people happy. That's not it. What you need to do is business, there are going to be moments when it's trying and it's hard and you have to work late hours or whatever it might be. And at that moment, someone may ask, why am I doing this? Why am I spending my life doing this? And they better have an answer, or else they're going to become, that's that first tick into disengagement. And that's what, that's the boogeyman. That's the executive boogeyman of like disengagement. You want to increase employee engagement. So if you don't have your why answered and someone starts to ask it, you're creeping down that path.
From your vantage point, Josh, I know you get to work with great culture leaders who talk a little bit more about like how you engage, like who you typically work with. What are the outcomes that you're helping to create within organizations?
Yeah. So we work directly with HR leaders. So it could be the CHRO or what we might call a chief people officer or VP of HR. That's typically the folks that we work with. But we also have worked with chief marketing officers because that's also part of that. The marketing, the brand is also part of that. So how do you engage employees in that way? So that's typically what we do. And what we're really doing is helping them build cultures that attract, engage, and retain the best talent. So it's really about the employees and creating that engagement. And so a typical ask might be something around, hey, can you help us refresh our values? Because values are something that everybody has, but they're not usually very good. And it's a great tool or I kind of think of it as a vessel to establish kind of that expectation around what great behavior looks like, what great choices are. Because culture, at the end of the day, if there's one thing you want to remember about culture, it's all about helping people make better choices.
And especially now, because, from your vantage point, Josh, I know that you get to work with so many great leaders. And would you mind maybe just, as we're recording this, it's the very beginning of February 2023, but obviously, you get, because of who you get to work with, you probably get to see some interesting trends. And there's probably some interesting trends that you're seeing or advising on in and around culture within the workplace and within organizations. Anything that, since we're, having a conversation about culture anyway, what are some things that you're seeing in 2023 that leaders ought to keep their eye on or pay attention to or be aware of?
So the big trend that I'm observing is, I would say, relationship decay. So you have more companies that are hybrid or distributed. And so those teams aren't necessarily coming together and understanding how they work, right? So that trust is actually decreasing. The relationships not just the immediate team, but also the broader team and the larger organization. And so what that is caused by what we call culture debt. So over the kind of the pandemic, right? Over the 2020, 2021, 2022, it's like all hands on deck. Let's just stop the bleeding, right? Like it's like anything that's not critical, let's survive, let's help the company survive. Great, I understand that. But now that we've come back from that, there's been a lot of ignoring of culture, of relationships, of investing in what it is to work at this organization. And so these teams, you're starting to see those cracks. And I believe over the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to see there's going to be more and more leaders observing the symptoms that are emerging from this that they may not see yet. And the symptoms are a decrease in engagement. We've already talked about that, productivity, and a decrease in innovation. And that is really a function of not the fact that they are distributed, because it's possible to have all those things when you're apart. It's just that you don't have those relationships being built. And so it's really about the leaders investing in building those relationships, doing the thing, building rituals that were once provided just by the square footage that we had, right? The offices, the cubicles, we ran into each other. We had established that proximity in the relationships and building that trust. We don't have that anymore. And so it used to just happen, and it was passive. But now we actually have to be, as leaders, we have to be active, or else we're going to start to see these teams really crumble.
Wow. So for this podcast, for the Great Mondays show, who you're going to be having amazing conversations, Great Mondays Radio. You're going to be having great conversations with great culture leaders, and who would make an ideal guest? Because I assume that there's probably someone listening right now, and they probably know someone who deserves to be. They want to hear that conversation with them because they know that they're a great leader in their space. Who would make a really great ideal introduction, or who should be going to greatmondays.com? They click on podcast, and that's where you have the guest schedule form all kind of baked in there. But who should be applying to be a guest on this podcast?
So I found that the folks that really have been through it and really understand the power of it are leaders who have been at or currently are high growth technology companies. So those companies are the ones that have had the most acute pain when it comes to culture, or the most acute success because of the speed at which they've run through it, right? Where it's like investment comes in and you have to grow by 200 employees or double your headcount or whatever it might be. Really intense stuff. Who are you hiring? How do you get them in the door? How do you get them to accept your offers? How do you get them to be there and start being productive right away? Those are all functions of culture. And so if you've been around and you've done that, you're an expert at it. That's really, really critical to this.
How fun is it going to be for our listener right now to be able to list those conversations? So really easy. If you're listening to this episode, hit subscribe right now and start binge listening, because it's going to get
exactly.
good.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. There's going to be a lot of great content. I am just as excited about learning from these folks, because I'm a culture nerd. And I'm also, as you probably tell, I'm a pretty big extrovert, and I love connecting with folks. I love learning about them. We're going to start with a couple folks that are friends of the show, people that I've worked with before, great people. I'm really, really excited to bring them on, and then learning and meeting all the new people that have something to say about culture and can add to this volume of content that is essentially saying culture is a business tool. Culture is not ping pong and pizza. Culture is not something that, right? Like most of the time, folks are like, uh-oh, things are going bad. We need to do something about it. My advice is start thinking about culture sooner than you need to, because eventually you want to be able to be prepared to deal with the crisis. You don't have to deal with your culture and your crisis at the same time.
Wow. Josh Levine, again, congratulations on the launch of the episode of your inaugural episode, Great Mondays Radio. Again, of course, delivered as a podcast, but also, across all of your networks. It's going to be a lot of fun to our listener right now. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and share this with other culture leaders. It's a great platform for all of us to geek out on. And, create better workplaces, create better cultures, create a more welcoming environment, so that, again, this goal of team members and all of our teams coming in and looking forward to Monday. And
Right,
Monday
exactly.
is, I can't wait to get connected with my friends, and I love what we're doing, like that esprit de corps, which is just so great. And so, Josh Levine, again, congratulations to our friend that's listening right now, and someone who deserves to be celebrated, who has some great thought leadership in this space. Just go to greatmondays.com, look for the link that says podcast, click on that, and then you'll see there should be an application link right there. Just click on that, and that's we'd love to hear your thought leadership. And Josh, I can't wait to hear that conversation.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited.